Hi peeps! For today's installment of It's Witchcraft, I wanted to speak to an essential part of my own practice as a witch and what I feel really makes me identify as a witch and has always been the core and fundamental aspect of my craft. And I wanted to speak to this in part. I was very inspired by a student I have right now, and our theme for her tutorials this month was the subject of wind magic. And as I was crafting the tutorial itself and what I wanted to speak to, I had an awareness of how essential feeling the aliveness of things is and building conscious relationship and connection to those beings is in my craft and practice. It is the essential core to what I do and what makes me me, I think. And it's also something that cannot be taught. It has to be felt and lived. And there's so much, I should say thank you to that student. Thank you, my dear. You know who you are. There is so much, I think, wonderful conversation about ritual and spellcraft and tools and practice when it comes to witchcraft in online communities. But with that can come this kind of hurried rush for immediate results, and also an idea of having to do something right. And I find this a lot in situations where I'm in a mentorship or teaching space. And, even from this video, I'll get comments or messages from people. And there can be an aspect of wanting to be told how to do it right. What's the perfect formula? And I feel that this is, at times it can bring up a sense of sadness within me as a practicing witch, because that's not what the craft is about and how I experience it. When you are walking a path as a witch, no matter what label of witch or flavor of witch you'd like to identify as, there's an aspect of living with the land as the land being alive. Even if you consider yourself occult-based and really focused on the knowledge aspect of craft, you are working with the elements in your craft. And so you have to have relationship with the land, and it's alive. You walk with it. This is something that does not involve only spellcrafting. And so the root experience, the foundation of being a witch or of walking a pagan path, to me, doesn't have anything to do with the magic I work when it comes to how I live my path. It's lived in alignment with the aliveness of the land, the wind, which I'm smiling because I just taught this tutorial on wind magic and have been thinking a lot about that over the past 48 hours. We've also been having these really powerful thunder and lightning storms here. And so I've been very connected to the wind as a physical force on the land where Vincent and I are living at this point in time. And I had this profound, overwhelming sense of awe and reverence and gratitude for my path and my practice, but also an awareness that I wanted to speak to this on the channel, that this is really what the practice is about to me, the practice of witchcraft, the practice of being a priestess. It's about living in union with the aliveness of this plane of existence and traveling to other planes of existence from this space, but understanding that it's my intimate connection to this space which keeps me grounded and which is my home base from which I can travel there to the upper, the middle, or the lower worlds, from which there I can astral travel working with the ley lines of the land here, right? But it's rooted in this aliveness. And so it's not about I do this spell and then I get what I want. That's not what being a witch is about. People may come to the witch for that when we think of the history and lore of witches, but the witch herself lives in alignment with the land. She talks to the old ones. She talks to the spirits of place. She talks to the wind. She talks to the old gods. And it's from there that she receives her magic. And that magic may be worked malefically, it may be worked beneficially, it may be worked for a price. That's up to the ethics of the witch herself. But the path is walked in alignment with the land. And I've been personally, just in where I am in my own journey at the time of this recording, working a lot with crossroads magic. Deities such as Hecate, Santa Muerta, and Papa Legba. And when you go to the crossroads, it's a liminal space, and you're aware of how irrevocable the magic that you embrace and engage within that crossroads, the lessons that you are taught from the beings and entities that have come through to guide you there. You're aware of how irrevocable, how powerful, how much of an initiation that magic is. And again, I've been filled with a sense of awe and reverence to be back in this space, which at times can be an unforgiving teacher, a harsh taskmaster, but from which you emerge strong, changed, empowered, and inspired. And so I wanted to speak in this video about the feeling space of being a witch, because my foremost memories of understanding I was walking a different blueprint and a different path than the people around me as a child had to do with how I felt the earth, the elements, the wind, the old ones, and the land where I grew up out in the woods. There is an aliveness and a memory to the dirt and the land in that space that when you walk it, you feel it, and you are talking to it, and you are building connection to it by paying attention to it, by hearing its stories. Now you may back that up with historical research, but my first understanding of my path was in that feeling space of the land. It's why it's an essential and core element of what it means to me to be a witch, to be a priestess, is to be tapped into that land. And I walk the land wherever I'm either living, moving to, visiting, and especially if I'm teaching, I'm tapped into the land. And the voices, the wisdom, the stories, the language, the trauma within that land informs the work. It informs who I am and who I'm becoming. And to me, that is a core element of being a witch. And this is not something that you work a spell around and receive immediate response to. This is something where you have to put your feet on the dirt and talk to the land. Just as you talk to the wind, just as you talk to the stones, just as you talk to the fae and the old ones and the energetic entities that dwell within the ley lines and the land of the property or the place where you are. And then coming up from the earth element energetically, liminally, you're tapped into the forces, the beings, the energies that are occupying the space with you. It is an awareness of never being alone. And it's also an awareness of working with these energies or understanding that you are not meant to work with these energies. And I want to encourage you, if you're exploring a path of witchcraft, if you're looking to work a spell, if you want to learn how to read tarot, to tap into the feeling space that is the witch herself, and that is the intuition, because it is essential to the craft. It is the craft to me, more than casting a circle, working a spell, more than gathering an herb and building a brew or a form of incense, more than working a tarot spread or divining the future for a client. The truth of being the witch herself is her connection to the aliveness of the land, of the space, of the place, of the beings that she's working with, being tapped into that, harmonizing with those frequencies, and feeling those truths from that space, building communication and walking in alignment with that truth. Witchcraft is not a means to avoid ever having to feel anything that's not enjoyable. Witchcraft is the certainty that you're going to feel all of it and experience all of it. But the more present and tapped in you are to where you are as you are living that, the more aware you are of the impermanence of those feelings, but also the wisdom that is to be gained by being with those feelings. And so for me, there's an essentialness to the feeling space. By this, I mean putting out almost like energetic an antenna and an energetic calling card, if you will, to wherever I am, that I'm listening and that I'm feeling. And within that space, I'm understanding and harmonizing. And that's where the magic then engages, lives and breathes, and can be drawn upon. And the craft then is so much less about making something happen that you want to have happen, and so much more about living and breathing and walking in this magical life. And that's what it's about for me as a witch. And so I want to encourage you, if you're coming to this video because you're curious or you're exploring or you're scared you're getting it wrong, you've read a bunch of books, you've watched a bunch of videos or shorts or TikTok videos or whatever that's led you to want to explore this, don't get confused about what this path is and about the lineage that you hold within yourself, but the lineage of the land where you reside. The lineage of the deity that called to you in the night. And the lineage of the energetic magic that comprises your unique blueprint as a being. That feeling space is what it's really about. And from there, we work our magic in union and unison with those beings that we've connected to from that feeling space. Offerings that are made to the spirits of place. It's not so that I get something from it. It's an offering that's made in reverence of their aliveness, which I can feel. And by that offering, I'm honoring their aliveness in a time when for many of them they've been forgotten, when they're discarded. And from there we build relationship. And then I may be able to draw upon something to work magic during the full moon. But being a witch is not just working magic under the light of the full moon. It starts somewhere else. There are roots deeper. There are roots more ancient. There are roots older than that. And that's what I want to encourage you to explore. And when you're talking to witches who live this practice and path, we're not concerned about following a formula and getting it right. We're more concerned about building relationship and harmonizing with what is around us. And from that space, we work the magic. But it's not about reading a book, working a formula, and getting out of jail free, And I think that this is something that's important to reflect upon if you're considering a path like this. Because It requires intention, commitment, and an ability to feel. This is where you really experience the depth of fulfillment as a witch that, I don't know, it's hard to put words to. But I wanted to talk about this, and I think I want to expand upon the It's Witchcraft series and speak more about these aspects of craft. But if you're sitting with this video and you've made it this far into the video and you're wondering, well, how do I feel the spirit of place? Take your shoes off, put your feet on the ground outside of where you live, and ask the land the wisdom it wishes to share with you. And when you feel the wind kick up your hair as it moves by you, ask the wind what it wants to say to you. Feel for the old ones. Make an offering. Even if you're not sure if it's the right offering, make it. They'll let you know if it's right or not, and you'll adjust accordingly. Put your hands on the dirt, on the trees, on the stones, and listen. Feel with that touch. What is the wisdom here? Who am I talking to? What's contained within this place? That's where the witch draws her true power from, in my opinion. And it's a deeply fulfilling path and experience. So, I hope you find this video helpful, especially if you're having a fear of failure when it comes to spellcrafting, magic, and witchcraft itself. I am sending you, as always, oceans of love, and I will, of course, see you in the next video. Take care.